The silence is deafening, the tension undeniable, and the question impossible to ignore. Why is Jungkook suddenly pulled away, and what exactly happened between him and Jimin during BTS's time in Los Angeles? This is the mystery currently shaking one of the most loyal and passionate fandoms in the world, leaving millions of fans anxiously refreshing their feeds, dissecting every gesture, and demanding answers to a situation that has become as emotional as it is perplexing. If Jungkook, once the most approachable and playful figure in the group, now appears distant and unreachable, the implications stretch far beyond a fleeting mood swing. For ARMY, this feels like a fracture at the heart of BTS. The storm began with a single whisper, a supposed private admission from Jimin that Jungkook has changed since arriving in LA, colder, harder to approach, and far less engaged with those closest to him. Jungkook's new demeanor has become a subject of urgent speculation. While unverified, this confession has ignited a wildfire across online communities, forcing fans to revisit recent videos, photographs, and casual clips with a level of scrutiny more intense than ever. The cheerful snapshots of BTS on piers and at gatherings in Los Angeles, once dismissed as harmless downtime, are now being re-examined frame by frame. In those images, Jungkook's face often appears blank, his movements restrained, his interactions minimal. The young man who once radiated warmth and spontaneity now projects a shielded stillness. For many fans, this is not the Jungkook they thought they knew. The contrast is particularly painful when viewed beside Jimin, who has long been seen as Jungkook's anchor within the group. Observers note that even in candid moments, Jimin seems hesitant, cautious, almost as though he is treading lightly around someone he used to embrace without hesitation. One clip from their LA pier outing captures this shift with unsettling clarity. Jimin walking slightly ahead, Jungkook trailing behind, gaze fixed on the ocean rather than on his members. For casual viewers, it might mean nothing. For ARMY, who have studied these dynamics for years, it is a red flag too glaring to dismiss. Fans are torn. Some interpret this distance as personal conflict, possibly a disagreement or emotional rift between the two. Others argue that Jungkook's withdrawn demeanor may have little to do with Jimin specifically, and everything to do with the immense pressure he carries. With whispers of a massive comeback being negotiated in Los Angeles, the timing seems too significant to be coincidental. Jungkook, known to internalize stress rather than share it, may be buckling under the weight of expectations, while Jimin juggles his own solo commitments and the challenge of reconnecting with a friend who suddenly feels unreachable. The lack of clarity only deepens the frenzy. On one side, skeptical fans claim that the company is deliberately controlling optics, curating public appearances to showcase harmony, while carefully avoiding moments that reveal tension. They argue that unedited, fan-captured footage tells a different story, one where Jungkook's expressions are neutral to the point of emptiness and his physical distance from Jimin is too consistent to be dismissed as coincidence. On the other side, loyalists defend the group's image, reminding everyone that Jungkook has always shifted between reserved and playful moods depending on circumstances. To them, these whispers of coldness are little more than exaggerated fan theories, yet the emotional fracture is undeniable. Every glance, every silence, every step between Jimin and Jungkook is now magnified under a microscope of global scrutiny. Fans remember vividly that Jungkook once described Jimin as a safe place, someone he could lean on amid chaos. To see that safe place clouded, or perhaps erased, has left many feeling unsettled, even betrayed. One fan wrote with heartbreaking clarity, "It feels like there's strangers in the same room." Theories multiply by the day. Some suggest that Jimin's supposed admission about Jungkook's change was less criticism and more a plea of concern, an attempt to signal that Jungkook is quietly struggling and needs support. Others view the silence from official channels as confirmation that there is something deeper at stake, something too fragile to expose. If true, this is not simply about a friendship under strain, but about the survival of a group that has built its identity on unity. Insiders whisper that the LA gathering was never just about schedules or contracts, but about reconciliation. Each member carried personal scars into that room, and for Jungkook and Jimin, those scars may have been impossible to conceal. Some even claim that RM attempted to mediate, urging them to sit down together after the awkwardness at the pier. Whether real words of healing were exchanged remains unknown, but what is clear is that the tension lingered. The stakes could not be higher. BTS's long-anticipated comeback represents not only a return to the global stage, but also a test of whether the bonds that carried them through a decade of unprecedented success remain intact. Fans vividly recall the Butter era, when Jungkook and Jimin's synergy was magnetic, their chemistry undeniable. To see that fire dimmed has left many wondering whether the comeback will rekindle their bond or confirm their fears that it has changed forever. But beyond personal tension lies another, more sobering possibility: that this distance reflects the crushing realities of the industry itself. As the group shoulders the burden of maintaining a global empire, personal sacrifices are inevitable. Friendships, even the closest, may fray under relentless expectations. Jimin's remark about Jungkook being harder to approach may be less about interpersonal conflict and more about survival, the struggle to remain whole in an industry that consumes even its brightest stars. Still, ARMY has not lost hope. This fandom, notorious for its dedication, remembers the countless times BTS has defied the odds, transforming fractures into unity and silence into music that heals. Perhaps what is unfolding now is no different: a storm before calm, a wound before healing. The possibility remains that the very tension now haunting headlines could become the raw material for their next era, fueling songs that resonate with authenticity and vulnerability. As the world awaits the comeback, the central question lingers with unbearable weight. Will Jimin and Jungkook face one another honestly on stage, breaking the icy silence, or will the unspoken distance remain, turning rehearsals into quiet standoffs behind closed doors? For ARMY, the answer matters as much as the music itself. Because if there is one truth that this saga has revealed, it is that the bond between Jimin and Jungkook is not just a detail, it is the emotional heartbeat of BTS. And right now, that heartbeat feels fragile, flickering, and uncertain. Until the silence is broken, the speculation will not stop. Every look, every gesture, every public appearance will be torn apart for clues. The question, why is Jungkook avoiding Jimin, has become more than gossip. It is a reflection of the fear, hope, and longing that define the relationship between BTS and their fans. The answer, whatever it may be, will shape not only the comeback, but also the legacy of a group whose unity has always been their greatest strength. Underneath the spectacle of rumors and speculation, one reality becomes increasingly unavoidable. The image of Jungkook turning inward while Jimin reaches outward has become the emotional fault line of BTS's current chapter. For a group that has always thrived on the appearance of unbreakable solidarity, the suggestion of even the slightest divide is enough to send shockwaves through their global fanbase. The reason is simple. BTS is not only a musical act, but also a symbol of collective resilience, of 7 individuals standing as one. When that unity feels fragile, millions of fans feel fragile with it. What heightens the urgency is how visible the distance has become in moments that were never meant to be dissected. In candid fan videos, Jungkook's eyes often seem focused on the ground, avoiding engagement, while Jimin glances toward him with an expression that fans interpret as concern, frustration, or both. One particular clip circulating online shows Jimin laughing lightly at something a member said, only for his smile to falter when he turns and realizes Jungkook is unresponsive. This fleeting silence between them, magnified by the digital echo chamber, has taken on the weight of a symbol, a relationship that once radiated closeness now teetering on the edge of estrangement. The implications go beyond individual emotions. For many, Jimin and Jungkook's dynamic has always embodied the heart of BTS's interpersonal chemistry. Their moments of warmth, trust, and support were not just personal bonds but public reassurance that the group's brotherhood was genuine. To see cracks forming in that image, whether through genuine strain or misunderstood signals, feels like watching the foundation of an empire tremble. Every move from this point forward will either confirm the fears of distance or spark relief that reconciliation has quietly taken place. And yet, even amid this turbulence, ARMY holds onto one persistent hope: that the very pressure threatening to divide them could also forge a deeper connection. Fans argue passionately that the struggles of Los Angeles, the whispered tension, and the unspoken silences may eventually become the raw material for growth, the catalyst for music that once again transforms pain into healing. Until the stage lights rise and the truth reveals itself, the world waits, breathless, to see whether Jungkook and Jimin will close the gap or let it widen beyond repair. The silent divide between reality and fabrication as the echoes of uncertainty reverberate across millions of ARMY timelines. The central question deepens: is the alleged tension between Jungkook and Jimin an authentic emotional fracture, or has the narrative been carefully constructed to manipulate perception? In an age where algorithms magnify speculation and fragmentary evidence transforms into global discourse within seconds, can anyone truly distinguish genuine conflict from manufactured drama? Before reacting impulsively to circulating narratives, we must pause and ask: how much of what we see reflects reality, and how much reflects the narratives others want us to believe? 1. The mirage of authenticity. The explosive claims that Jungkook has grown distant, colder, detached, and shielded stem largely from viral content originating on TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, and smaller fan forums. But can we fully rely on these fragments? Who curates these moments, who edits these clips, and who benefits from the spread of emotional unrest among fans? Several fan-captured videos show Jungkook avoiding prolonged interactions with Jimin during BTS's Los Angeles schedules. Yet, do we possess the entire unedited context? In a digital environment where every glance and gesture can be isolated, slowed down, and stripped of surrounding meaning, we must confront an uncomfortable possibility. Are we being persuaded by images engineered to provoke emotional reactions rather than reveal truth? 2. The power of narrative engineering. Information spreads rapidly, but control of the narrative often rests with a small number of powerful actors, from entertainment companies to anonymous influencers driving fan discourse. Could the portrayal of a growing rift be a strategic manipulation designed to sustain BTS's dominance within the global conversation, rather than a reflection of genuine disconnection? Insiders suggest that BTS's time in Los Angeles was not only about recording sessions, but also high-level negotiations regarding their long-anticipated comeback. If so, the sudden shift in Jungkook's demeanor might represent extreme psychological pressure rather than personal resentment. But if this explanation holds weight, why do official statements remain silent while fan theories spiral into hysteria? Does this silence reflect respect for members' privacy? Or is it a deliberate strategy to cultivate uncertainty, keeping the fandom's attention locked on every microscopic interaction? 3. The anatomy of speculation. Every piercing look, every fleeting silence, every small physical distance between Jimin and Jungkook has become a battlefield of interpretation. Fans meticulously dissect moments frame by frame, overlaying past narratives onto present footage. But we must ask ourselves directly: do these interpretations reveal objective truth, or are they projections of our own emotional investment? Consider the viral clip from BTS's peer outing, where Jimin walks slightly ahead while Jungkook lingers behind, gaze fixed on the ocean. For many, this has become symbolic of an emotional drift. Yet could it not also be a moment of personal introspection unrelated to Jimin? Could we, as observers, be imposing meaning where none exists, transforming random gestures into coded signals of crisis? If we cannot separate facts from projections, How much of this rift truly belongs to BTS? And how much belongs to us, the viewers, who unconsciously construct the drama we crave? 4. Manufactured tension or genuine strain. Whispers from alleged insiders claim that RM attempted to mediate a private reconciliation between Jungkook and Jimin during the Los Angeles meetings. Yet these claims remain unverified, relying on anonymous sources and speculative threads rather than concrete evidence. This raises critical questions. Why are we so quick to trust unconfirmed narratives? Why do we grant unverified social media leaks the same authority as direct statements from the members themselves? One possible explanation lies in the psychology of fandoms. The emotional connection ARMY shares with BTS is profoundly intimate, built on years of shared narratives and personal investment. That intimacy creates a paradox. Fans seek closeness, yet the very desire to know everything may contribute to perpetuating collective illusions. 5. Media sensationalism and digital amplification. The architecture of modern media thrives on attention, and the alleged Jungkook-Jimin divide has become perfect fuel for virality. TikTok creators, YouTube commentators, and Twitter threads repeatedly amplify unverified claims, producing emotional peaks that generate clicks, views, and revenue. This poses another urgent question. Who profits from your concern, your heartbreak, and your sleepless nights? If the narrative of Jungkook's withdrawal has been exaggerated or even entirely constructed, then fans risk becoming participants in a cycle of manipulation designed to monetize emotional investment. Should we not question whether our collective obsession with these narratives sustains an ecosystem where misinformation thrives, while genuine truth is increasingly obscured? 6. The psychological weight on BTS amid the chaos of speculation. We must not forget the human cost borne by the individuals at the center of this storm. Jungkook's alleged withdrawal may not reflect resentment toward Jimin at all, but rather a manifestation of overwhelming stress, expectations for the comeback, personal identity, and the crushing visibility that comes with global fame. And if Jimin's supposed remark that Jungkook has become harder to approach was indeed real, should we interpret it as frustration or as quiet concern for a friend struggling privately? Are we, as fans, inadvertently placing impossible expectations on two human beings whose private lives cannot align perfectly with the emotional narratives we create for them? 7. A call for skepticism and reflection. This leads us to the core of this discourse. Should we believe what we have been shown, or should we question everything? In a landscape where multiple interests converge, fan-driven narratives, corporate strategies, influencer monetization, and media manipulation, unverified stories cannot be treated as absolute truth. We must ask ourselves challenging questions. What if the entire portrayal of a fractured bond is a strategic performance engineered to dominate headlines? What if, conversely, there is genuine tension, and we are exploiting the members' pain for entertainment without realizing it? How much responsibility do fans bear in perpetuating cycles of speculation? And where should we draw the ethical boundary between curiosity and intrusion? 8. The role of the audience at its heart. This situation forces us to examine the role we play as consumers of narrative. Every retweet, every clip analysis, every speculative thread contributes to the collective shaping of BTS's public image. The power dynamic between artist and audience has never been more fragile. So we must confront ourselves with unsettling honesty. Do we seek the truth, or do we unconsciously prefer the drama? If we claim to support BTS unconditionally, does that support extend to respecting their boundaries, their silences, and their right to privacy, even when doing so denies us the answers we crave? 9. Between hope and disillusionment, the emotional heartbeat of BTS has always been rooted in authenticity. The image of 7 individuals overcoming personal struggles together, presenting unity against impossible odds. This is why the suggestion of a rift between Jungkook and Jimin feels so destabilizing. If their bond falters, what else might fracture beneath the surface? And yet, hope persists. Many fans hold firm to the belief that these moments of tension, real or perceived, are temporary storms preceding reconciliation. Others fear that this narrative signals deeper transformations within BTS itself, forcing us to confront an uncomfortable reality. Are we prepared for the possibility that BTS, as we once knew them, is evolving into something different and perhaps less cohesive? Final reflection. The truth, elusive and unresolved as we await official statements, future performances, and BTS's long-anticipated comeback. We stand at a crossroads between belief and doubt, hope and skepticism, devotion and detachment. Before resharing the next clip, before dissecting the next fleeting glance, ask yourself, do I know this is real? Or do I want it to be real? Am I protecting the members' dignity? Or am I consuming their private struggles as entertainment? Am I part of the solution? Or part of the machinery that feeds on chaos? Until Jungkook and Jimin choose to speak for themselves, the tension will remain suspended between rumor and reality. The silence is not an answer, but perhaps it is an invitation to slow down, to reflect, and to acknowledge that in an age of algorithm-driven sensationalism, critical thinking is not optional. It is essential, because ultimately, the real question is not whether Jungkook is avoiding Jimin. The real question is whether we, as consumers of narrative, can still distinguish truth from illusion, and whether we are willing to hold ourselves accountable for the role we play in shaping both. The tension surrounding Jungkook and Jimin is not just a fleeting gossip storm. It has evolved into a global case study on the blurred lines between reality and perception in the modern entertainment era. What began as whispers in fan forums has escalated into think pieces, reaction videos, and heated debates across every corner of social media. This is no longer about a simple friendship question. It's about how a fandom interprets silence, how corporations navigate uncertainty, and how two individuals carry the weight of millions of expectations. One of the most pressing aspects of this drama is the psychological toll it inevitably imposes on Jungkook and Jimin themselves. Imagine living under the microscope of millions, where even a shift in body language becomes grounds for international speculation. Jungkook lowering his gaze is interpreted as rejection, Jimin hesitating before speaking is dissected as discomfort, and a pause in conversation is magnified into a symbol of estrangement. In truth, these could all be normal human responses: fatigue, distraction, or even a simple off day. But within BTS, nothing is ordinary. Every second carries meaning because every second is consumed, analyzed, and amplified. This raises a sobering thought. Is authenticity still possible for global icons at their level of fame? Jungkook, once celebrated as the golden magne for his openness and versatility, now seems to retreat from the very visibility that made him a superstar. Jimin, long admired for his empathy and approachability, appears trapped between concern for his friend and the inevitability of fans' overanalysis. The paradox is brutal. By caring so deeply, ARMY may unintentionally intensify the very distance they fear. Yet, there is another layer worth considering: the industry's silent hand. Entertainment corporations thrive on buzz, and tension, whether real or fabricated, keeps BTS at the center of global discourse. Silence from official channels is not necessarily ignorance. It can be a calculated move, allowing speculation to fester because speculation fuels engagement. Every trending hashtag, every viral clip, every emotional reaction keeps the brand alive, even in moments when the music itself is absent. Could it be that what feels like disconnection is actually strategy, a way of holding the fandom's attention until the long-awaited comeback erupts onto the stage? Still, it would be naive to dismiss fans' concerns as pure delusion. History has shown that cracks within idol groups can signal larger storms to come. K-pop is littered with stories of friendships turned sour, of departures that blindsided fans who once believed unity was unbreakable. For ARMY, the fear is not only about Jungkook and Jimin drifting apart, but about what that drift might mean for the group's future. Will the brotherhood survive the relentless pressures of fame, Or will it eventually fracture under the weight of its own legend? And yet, perhaps the most poignant truth lies in the emotional contract between BTS and their fans. From the very beginning, BTS built their empire on vulnerability, sharing struggles, insecurities, and personal stories in ways that made millions feel less alone. That honesty forged one of the most powerful fandom-artist bonds in history. But honesty also comes at a cost. It convinces fans that they are entitled to decode every silence, every glance, every private moment. What began as connection risks turning into intrusion, where even natural changes in personality are treated as scandal. For now, the silence continues. Jungkook has not spoken directly about his alleged withdrawal, and Jimin has not addressed the whispers of distance. The company maintains its careful neutrality, releasing polished images of group harmony while leaving fans to fill the void with their own narratives. It is a delicate balancing act, one that tests not just BTS's resilience, but also ARMY's capacity for patience and trust.